I've got the OneDrive, I've got that, I've got this. I'm going to tell you all that I am sick of the way politics is evading everyday life. I went to Costco today, and even my glasses have to be progressive now, so I don't know. Keeping with the dad jokes from last week.
If you need any extra ones, my daughter gave me a calendar, so I get a daily dad joke every day.
Love it. Oh, I have to switch folders. If you want to lead us in the pledge today, you could do so anytime before we get going.
I pledge. We're going to stand for the pledge. You guys are welcome to join us or not. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everyone. That I guess this one's mine. Okay. And thank you for coming in person or virtually to the Town of Lunenburg Planning Board meeting for Monday, June 24th. This meeting is being recorded and is or will be broadcast on TV and on YouTube. I think Facebook Live as well. If you want to participate, the best way to do it is always to be here at lovely Town Hall. But if you can't do that, we do provide a Zoom link, which is up and running this week, correct?
Yes, it is.
Love it. So you can get the Zoom link off our agenda on the town website, and you can, from the Zoom link, call in or video chat in from your computer as you wish. I believe that is everything we're legally required to say, so here we go. Next up, after calling to order, public comment.
I have a raised hand from Dave McDonald.
Oh, okay.
Okay, nice. I'm going to have to follow up with that.
Mr. McDonald, please just share your name and address, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Dave McDonald, and I live on Island Road in Lunenburg. I just have a quick question for you, Mr. Chair. On the Pledge of Allegiance, is that something, is there a reason why you don't do it during the meeting? Is that your decision or the board's decision?
Oh, this has come up before. No, that is my decision as chair, because the chair puts the agenda together. And I've explained this before. I don't mind explaining it again. 1 second. The Pledge of Allegiance is unfortunately, to my way of thinking, a little bit of a tricky beast. I have no personal problem with the pledge. I stand for it every time and say the whole thing happily. But to many people, the thing where you stand and face a flag and say a bunch of prescribed words, people from other cultures who are still part of the U.S., citizens of the U.S., or people who have had bad experiences with that, that can feel less welcoming. And because this should be a public meeting that welcomes everyone, and we should try to get as many people here as possible, I prefer to have the pledge not part of the meeting. I have no problem with the pledge. I don't think it's necessary as a patriotic symbol in this case, because we have volunteers on the stage, we have volunteers in the audience, at home and here, who are all giving their personal time to make their community better. And that's to me the definition of patriotism. But I don't have a problem with it. We just do it before the meeting, if anyone wants to lead it. And Mr. Allison has said he'd like to lead it indefinitely, to my understanding. So we're good there.
Okay, I appreciate that, Mr. Chair, but I do have a problem with that. As a chair, and I've been chair on boards in this town, your responsibility is to conduct the meeting, set the agenda, but every member of that board is the same as you. I think everyone has a vote if they want to do the pledge or not. And I think what you should do is ask your board members and put it out to vote. You like to do the pledge during the meeting, as most boards do, or after, and then live with that. If the board votes yes, then it's a yes. If it votes no, then it's a no. If it votes yes and you're not in agreement with that, Mr. Chair, you could reclude yourself or take a knee. But I just think that the American way would be to vote on it as a board. You all work together in this town. All our chairs should be listening to their board. It's not a one-person committee, as other boards have shown to be in the past. And I'm just saying that with all due respect to you, Mr. Chair, and I hope you take that under consignment. I appreciate it, guys, and have a good night. And you're all doing a great job, and welcome to the new members who just got elected. Thank you for serving.
Thank you. I will take that under advisement. I don't know that I fully agree, but I also don't know that I disagree. That's something I do have to chew over. Any other public comment? And Mr. McDonald, it sounded like that was concluding your statement. If it wasn't, I apologize.
No, I appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great.
Again, thank you.
This is less of a comment, but I don't know who controls the sound output from the Zoom, but if it could be a little louder, that would be good. I don't know if you guys had any issues hearing, but
I was thinking the same thing. It could have been the individual call, or it could have been, it could just be the audio in this room. But I would like to ask the booth the same thing, just making sure that the sound levels are good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the comment from the booth was if they get any louder, we start to have feedback issues. All right, so we will rock it the best we can. Okay. Seeing no other public comment, yell out if I'm wrong, I will move us forward.
Board comment?
Oh, sure. That's fair. The select board does public comment from the public comment from members of the board. We put board comments at the end, but yes, we're also the public, so public comment from the board, please.
Okay, yes, and I've said this before, and I certainly don't want to seem argumentative, but I certainly agree with Mr. McDonald, and the reason that I didn't push before for a vote is we had an even number of members, and I didn't really want it to be a contentious thing, but I do feel that if the chair makes a decision that the group is not happy with, that they can put it to a vote, is my understanding of how a group should work. But short of talking to anybody about, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, I would like to put it to a vote, as far as the pledge. I mean, there's all kinds of virtue signaling going on these days, and I feel that the Pledge of Allegiance is the original virtue signal that we are citizens of a nation, and we recognize that, and we are proud to be such. And I, for one, feel that it could be considered a slap in the face to many veterans or people who feel differently. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Okay. Heard as well. And again, I don't want to have a vote for something that's not on the agenda as well tonight regardless. I don't think that's a strict requirement for things like this that are purely administrative in nature, not trying to downplay people's thoughts on the pledge, but as opposed to doing things that impact the public in terms of law or, decisions. I would say, I personally disagree somewhat about the veterans thought, only in that the flag belongs to all of us equally. So I do think there's something to be said about if it hurts people, it hurts probably everyone, but we're really in the weeds of nitpicking. And I do hear your point, and a request from the board for a vote feels important to me. All right. Anything else?
Excuse me.
I would simply say I agree with Mr. Allison.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up would be board reorganization. So we were going to do this last meeting, but last meeting was cut. We very much abbreviated it because Zoom was not available, so we handled a few things that really absolutely had to be that night. We approved me as a chair for an additional one meeting, just to kind of get us to tonight. And now we can do our full reorg. I know it is, we have the file in our OneDrive. It is 2024-2025 board reorg.pdf. That's just a list of the positions that need to be filled.
If anyone needs that, it's also over here, physical.
Okay, thank you. Now, some of these are, Capital Planning Committee, for example, I'm looking at that. I'm our current representative to Capital Planning Committee. I don't think that session is up, I believe, because that's a 3-year term.
3-year term.
And I was brought on when Ms. Bertram left. And I don't know if that was a term split or not. But I don't believe we're up to revote that one. I don't know if any of the others have a term off the top of my head.
Not as far as I'm.
Okay. So I believe Capital Planning Committee is not up for reorg tonight, but I wanted to touch base in case anyone objects and has evidence that we are. And discussing tonight, the chair of the committee did not think I was up either, but. Okay, great. So, the way it happens is for a position, you need someone nominated, you need someone seconded, and then we can vote once we have however many people are nominated for a position. To that, but before that, there is nothing stopping us, and I think it is probably good practice, given the board generally gets along well. I think there's value in just talking about what people do and don't want to continue doing for roles, or if they'd like to hand it off, or they'd like to step into something new. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, yeah, we can. I was thinking, Matt, you've been pretty well involved in the Master Plan Steering Committee as it is. I was wondering if you and I would like to trade that and the Capital Planning Committee by any chance, if that seems like a reasonable thing to you, or something you're interested in.
I would like to see out my term on capital planning at least, in part because that is, there's ongoing work. Normally that's
I didn't realize that was a multi-year one as well.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
the only one that's got a term that I know of, that's a group, but it's in the charter.
Okay. Did I mix up?
I would rather see out my term for that, for the sake of consistency there.
Sure, of
but,
course.
I will say that, as well, the other thing that happened last week is we needed a member on the town manager screening committee, because the town manager has, as of a little less than a month ago, offered her resignation at a select board meeting. And so now the select board is looking for an interim, and there's a screening committee put together to filter candidates to then send on to the select board for final selection of the permanent town manager role. We elected me to that role because the limited access and everything for the time, and it has to get going. Actually, I was just at that meeting now. If we're really interested, I'm happy to take on that role, to stay in that role. If someone else really wants it, we can certainly talk about that. But I wanted to put out that that is not part of our official reorg process.
And that is effectively just the one job, and then it's
Yes.
completed? Yeah, okay.
That is probably, I mean, I don't know for sure. I think we'd love it to be a 4 to 6 month role. But we don't,
Yeah.
given the difficulty in hiring municipal candidates, kind of statewide right now, I am less convinced that will be a short search, but it very well could be. I am happy and would like to remain on that myself. I don't know if we can switch now that we've done it. I mean, I could always just say, no, I'm not doing it. I don't know if they're looking for a switch or not there as good for business. I will say that if I am to remain chair, I would like to remain chair. If I remain chair, then the time investment in that and some of the other things, I don't feel I can give the Economic Development Committee the full attention it deserves. And Tim, if you are looking to get off the,
I wasn't looking to get off, I just thought maybe it was I misunderstood which of your ones was on term and which
Okay.
wasn't. Yeah.
yeah, just because I work with I meet every 2 weeks, or as board chair at least, I meet every 2 weeks with the consultants and with Josie Gilchrist, the chair of the Master Plan Steering Committee. And I don't know that I want my voice to be too magnified in this process, if that
Fair enough.
just,
Yeah.
I get to be heard an awful lot as is.
Sure.
Are there roles people are looking to stay in, looking to want to try, or looking to want to step back from?
I'm happy there, and I'm really excited about my spot on Stormwater Task Force, so.
Nice.
If somebody's excited about that, then I would recommend that we keep them there.
Yeah.
I'm fine with MRPC and MJTC, both of them. I know, you're welcome. Clerk, I can give or take, it doesn't really require much work, so unless somebody's clamoring to take any of those, I'd be willing to give them away.
All right. Mr. Ellison, do you have any thoughts on your roles? or would you like to keep, or-
So this is probably going to be my last year. I'm going to finish out my term, and I probably won't seek another term on planning board. And I'm getting really sick of these meetings, and the lack of productivity from them. So, I mean, I love the open space meeting, but there's really very little going on there. The primary reason for them was the chapter land coming out of chapter and first right of refusal and discussions about that. They've expanded their scope. They've started taking on other things with other groups, and they're making some progress in doing good things. I'm not married to it. It's a little bit of a late meeting for me. It's a 7:30 meeting. And the Municipal Building Design Committee, it's been over a year since we've met, so I can stay there or not, and it's an early meeting, and that's really within my wheelhouse in my career, so I'd be willing to do that, and I'm not even married to the vice chair. I think it might actually be a good idea to get some of the other junior members into that chair, into that position, at least so that they can start every once in a while getting an opportunity to chair, so that, you know, we need to cycle through these things, and it's a difficult task to go from just a general member to being chair or vice chair and regularly running a meeting. It's exciting. I know if you've never done it, it sounds really exciting, but quite honestly, it's not.
Is that primarily the duty of the vice chair, is just coverage for the chair?
For the most part, as far as I know, I don't think there's any other great.
If I can make one comment. You know,
Please.
we've got a number of positions here that are divided among four of you. Because there's one member who is not active, we now have a fifth member. So instead of necessarily who wants to keep, but is there a position that Glenn would like to be in that someone else would like to give up, so that
Yes.
these can be divided among all five? And he's saying, what did I get myself into?
I thought we passed that discussion.
I think it's essential to, and that way you can build the background, build the strength of each of the committee members. And also note, I assume the master plan steering committee is a ad hoc with a limit that when the master plan's finished, that steering committee
Yeah. But
task is done.
it's sort of. There has been discussion about changing how the board is organized so that we can continue on as part of a check on implementation, like
But-
where is it going?
I
So,
would expect that need to be created as a member, as a amendment to the bylaws to create a standing committee.
Okay.
yeah, so I can actually tell you that that is something that the most recent master plan steering committee, where they couldn't quite get quorum to meet. The goal was to have me there based on that explanation expressed by the steering committee. And to summarize for those here and at home and on the board, the steering committee basically said that, I mean, it's the words you want to hear. We're working really hard on this master plan, and it'd be really unfortunate if we're doing all this work, listening to the public, spending money to have a very expensive in dollars and person hours book that we then put high on a shelf and never touch again. And that is, unfortunately, often the fate of master plans, unless the town then puts together a master plan implementation committee. And it's my understanding from the chair, and Tim, you may be able to speak on this as well, that, yeah, that there's members of the committee who are excited at the notion of not just having this document, but then doing the next steps to help this kind of will of the people document actually guide the town going forward.
It went as far as to run an analysis of our previous master plan to get an idea of like, what was the implementation rate of that? Yeah, it's definitely something that the board is interested in.
And I'll be frank, one of the reasons I would like to stay on as chair is because I would like to be in that role to help guide us kind of into that next step of the process.
Sure.
Just because I've been there for some of the citizen planner meetings, had some conversations, and I'll push for it regardless from any position, but I think that is going to be an important step. And I was going to basically go to the meeting and say that, and will when the next time it meets.
If I may interrupt, Ms. Lockwood, who has an appointment with Open Space, item 4, had another meeting at 6:30, so she just wanted to know if that item could be moved to like around 7 PM and the board would still be able to continue it.
If she is not available, we can do any order from we don't have to do the agenda in order.
Yeah.
So if she is not available, we can just do it later in the meeting if she is again.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't think we technically need her present to vote, but it'd be nice to hear from her regardless, so,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm assuming there's no issue, just bumping in, okay, yeah. Okay. Mr. McLeod, is there anything that's of interest to you?
Nothing jumps out, but my only caution would be is that it would be intimidating to represent the board where I'm still actually figuring out, exactly what it is that I'm doing, so it'd be a little strange to represent at such an early stage.
Well, can I speak?
Please do.
So these not necessarily representations of the board, these are, excuse me, other groups that have, that are doing things that would have impact and interest to the group. So basically, these committee assignments are basically that. You're being a subcommittee member on yourself to that group, and then you're bringing that information back to this group, and then we talk about it. So it's very seldom, if ever, you certainly would, I wouldn't expect you to say, well, it's from some town that I think I'm, but, you wouldn't be specifically saying things about yourself and the fact that you're from Lunenburg, but it's not necessarily representation, as far as, typically you get information, you bring it back to the board, we discuss it, and then oftentimes we'd ask you, if there was something coming up, you'd ask us, and we'd probably take a poll and then send you off with the group's thoughts on it. And correct me if I misspoke.
No, I agree with you. I think that was a very eloquent explanation.
Yeah, so back to your question, nothing really jumps out as in like a particular area. I would just be willing to help out in any way if, somebody was unloading one.
Great, all right. I would, again, I'd ask, is anyone interested in vice chair?
I'm willing to take it on.
All right. Is anyone, I know I've said I want chair, I do. But does anyone else would anyone else really like to take that chair role? I said what I wanted, but I don't want to stifle discussion on that topic either, by the same token.
No, it's all yours.
Fair enough. Well, nothing is anyone's yet, but pending further discussion, and we can always go back and discuss too, that's fine, but we can, I will start, I'm just going to go down the list and start looking for nominations. And it is nomination second, see if we get more, and then we just vote, right? Okay. I would be looking for nominations for the board chair.
Nominate Matt Brenner for the chair.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Do we have any other nominations for chair? Hearing none, can we just do the votes after each one?
Sure.
Okay, great. If we only have one, do we just, well, I guess, yeah, we'll say, all in favor of Matt Brenner for chair? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, and we have no other candidates, so that role is filled.
Can we do this like a list where we fill in all of our spots and then vote on the whole thing at the
Could
end?
do those, and you could do that way, we fill the list out and do one.
Oh, that would be amazing. All right. Well, let's see. If there's any contended, in contention, we'll just vote those separately.
Yeah.
Great. Looking for nominations for vice chair.
Nominate Tim Wilsmer for vice chair.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, I am looking for nominations for clerk.
Nominate Amanda Reed.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other nominations for clerk? Hearing none. Nominations for our representative to the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission, MRPC.
Nominate Amanda Reed for that? Yeah.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other nominations for a representative to MRPC? Hearing none. Looking for nominations for our representative to Massachusetts Joint Transportation Committee. Is that Montechusett?
Montechusett.
Oh, it's not Montechusett, it's Montechusett. All right, there we go. Joint Transportation Committee, MJTC.
Nominate Amanda Reed.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other nominations? Looking for a nomination to, oh, nope, not Capital Planning Committee. That doesn't need to happen. Looking for nomination to Open Space Ad Hoc Committee.
How do you feel about it?
Is that the one you were trying to unload?
Not necessarily trying to unload it, but if you want to take one, that'd be a good one. They don't meet very often, and it's a nice group. Yeah.
Sure.
And they're a subcommittee of the planning board, I believe, right? Or they gone?
I don't know which group, which board owns them.
I'm pretty sure we do, because,
I think.
anyways.
Yeah, I think we do. All right. Was that moved and seconded?
No, I'll move Glenn McLeod for open space.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any other nominations for open space? Hearing none. Stormwater Task Force, looking for nominations for our representative.
Nominate Tim Wilsmer.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other nominations for Stormwater Task Force? Sounds like a good 1980s kids cartoon, you know? Hearing none. We are then on to Municipal Building Design Committee. Looking for nominations for a Municipal Building Design Committee.
I nominate Matt Allison.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other nominations? Hearing none. Economic Development Committee.
Nominate Matt Brenner.
I am willing to keep this role. I don't know that I am a great, again, I'm not making the number of meetings I would like to for them right now. So, I will accept a I will accept the role if voted into it, but I don't know that I can do them the service they fully deserve. That said, I've been there for 2 years, so I get that too. I was going to say, Mr. McLeod, how would you feel about Economic Development Committee?
Give it a shot.
I would nominate Glenn McLeod for Economic Development Committee.
I'll withdraw my nomination.
Second for Glenn.
Okay? Any other nominations for Economic Development Committee? Hearing none. Looking to, for the, totally lost the flow, had it all going nice and smooth. Nominations for a representative to the Master Plan Steering Committee. I'll nominate Tim Wilsner.
Oh, is that the one you want to keep? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other nominations for Master Plan Steering Committee? Hearing none. It sounded to me, if memory serves, that we have one nominee in each position, right?
Yes.
I would look for a motion to approve all,
Do we need to formally approve the town manager search committee?
I don't,
Sin-
We
That is separate from the reorg, I thought, because,
Wouldn't hurt.
but it doesn't hurt, I'm fine with that too.
I'm just thinking since you vote new officers,
Sure. Looking for nominations for the Town Manager Screening Committee.
We'll nominate Matthew Brenner.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other nominations? Hearing none. Okay, I would entertain a motion such as a motion to approve all nominees to the positions to which they've been nominated, since they are all uncontested.
So moved.
Second.
And does that meet our legal requirements?
I would suggest just read out who,
For Vice Chair, Clerk, MRPC, MJTC, Capital Planning Committee, Open Space Ad Hoc Committee, Stormwater Task Force, Municipal Building Design Committee, Economic Development Committee, Master Plan Steering Committee, and Town Manager Screening Committee is its technical name. I would need another
Okay.
so moved, I think. Do we need another so moved on that?
you already, you had the same motion already, so
Okay.
who moved and who seconded?
Moved, seconded.
Yeah, Amanda seconded.
Okay.
All right. So moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Are we supposed to, I actually don't know how the seating is supposed to go, if we are going, because we usually go up by seniority on the committee and then chair here, but I didn't know if it was vice chair there. I have no clue how we're supposed to sit. What, the vice chair here?
Well, that's how most of the boards do.
Okay,
We want to
great.
do musical chairs?
We should probably do musical chairs then.
Oh, we're doing this right now? Okay.
We have reorganized the board.
Only one swap required, right? I just want to have the cool section.
All right.
Nameplates.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Logan, when Ms. Lockwood is available again, would you just let me know?
Absolutely.
So that we can slot her in where appropriate.
Yep.
Okay, so that is called order, public comment, board reorganization, all checks. Our next up would be an appointment to meet with Ms. Lockwood, who has put her name forward to Open Space Ad Hoc Committee. I will just give a quick explanation of that since we mentioned it. Ms. Lockwood has served as the Parks Department's representative to that committee for some amount, I don't know exactly how long, but for some amount of time. But the at-large position on that committee has not been filled. Ms. Lockwood is applying for the at-large position on that committee because she is interested in that, and Parks could otherwise fill the role, which would then give the committee a full roster. That's up to us if we want to appoint her into that role or not, but just a little bit of, if you follow Open Space and go, but isn't Anna on there already? Yes, in a different capacity. MBTA zoning presentation by Karen Chapman.
I sent y'all an email this afternoon. She emailed this morning indicating she was not feeling well.
Oh.
And she wasn't sure she'd be able to make it. We tentatively scheduled it for July 8th. Since she's not here, I assume she wasn't able to make it.
That would make sense. If that changes, again, Logan, just let us know, but, okay. So I'm putting that down in my... This will be an easier format, except I have now switched pages. There we go. Okay, next up, we have an A&R for 932 Flat Hill Road.
You will remember that this was on a prior meeting agenda. Mm-hmm. And the problem we had with it was that the applicant was not the owner of the property that's being divided. So, and there was no certification, no confirmation from the applicant or from the property owner. We have received a certification that is in the shared file from the property owner indicating that they are in agreement with it, that the land to be sold is, they decided to sell to Bob Correa of 932 Flat Hill Road a small portion of their land to facilitate his building of a garage. So there's an agreement there, and they have sent a certification indicating they're fine with it.
Great, and therefore, we no longer have concern we could be stealing someone's property.
Correct.
Wouldn't
Therefore, it's
that be a funny way to go about it, right? I don't know, I just did an AR for Town Hall, it's fine.
This is mine now.
Therefore, it's appropriate to endorse it.
Yep, all right.
You recall, it's a pie-shaped piece of property that's being added over there.
And the file on that is 932 Flat Hill Road, A&R, for that. But otherwise, there was no change. As a reminder, there was no change in frontage. I will spend the next few meetings talking more about processes we do commonly, because we do have a new board member, and I think it's good annually, at least, to do that anyway for the public. An A&R, did I already talk about this last? I don't think we had one last meeting. No. Okay. So an A&R is ironically called an approval not required, which is important to bring before a government body. Now, we don't approve it. But what we do is, we do have, an A&R is a process by which basically you're redrawing lot lines. And if you're, maybe you're buying buying property from a neighbor, maybe you are splitting your land up so that you can sell it as multiple parcels. But this is the process by which you do it. And we don't approve it, because this is something people can do by right. What we're doing is endorsing, and that's to make sure it meets a very small list of specific requirements that can generally be summarized as, does the lot still have frontage? Is the lot accessible from the road in the way that is legally required? That's about it. And there's definitions in state law for what does and doesn't, what is and isn't considered as obstructing frontage. We do, in our process, ask applicants a few questions that we do not directly consider. For example, we do ask them when septic is involved to go to the Board of Health and check on a few things. And no matter what the Board of Health says, that doesn't change whether or not that should not change our vote to endorse. But we have applicants do it because we have the experience to know that people, even sometimes engineers, just because law of averages, you do this enough, sometimes you make a mistake, and you could cut off your ability to have septic. And we try to let people know if they're going to do that. Now, they could say, tough noogies, I'm doing it anyway. That's fine. It doesn't impact our decision, but we've had people go, oh wait, maybe I'll withdraw this and come back later. So they're not creating their own problems. So, when we talked about it last time as a board, we largely seem to feel that this, and correct me if anyone feels differently, that this met the requirements, and it was purely making sure that there was permission to get that little slice of land.
Motion to endorse A&R for 932 Flat Hill Road.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, perfect. Now that is endorsed, and we need to sign something for that after the meeting, right?
Yes.
Or is there a Mylar here?
Yes.
Do you want us to sign it now?
Sure, I didn't know there was something I had to say.
Oh, do we usually sign it?
Usually you can sign afterwards and then they can pick up tomorrow.
Okay,
Logan will be in the office and they can pick up.
okay.
We do have public hearing scheduled this week.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair. All right, so be available tomorrow, we'll sign at the end of the meeting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We've done both over the years, and I never remember what the current approach is.
You can do it at the meeting, it's just cumbersome to do it then.
Yep. All right, we have a public hearing for a special permit for signage at 3 Lancaster Ave.
The public hearing notice should be in the
Yep.
sheriff file.
I am
Wasn't in there.
looking, I don't think, 3 Lancaster Ave, special permit sign. Do we have the public hearing notice in here as well?
It should be in
I
there.
don't see the public hearing notice, at least in that file.
Find it, it's on the agenda, it's on the calendar.
Location.
If that's the case, you can borrow mine.
Wonderful. Thank you. The Lunenburg Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, June 24th, 2024 at 6:05 PM, Town Hall, 17 Main Street, Lunenburg, Mass., to hear and review a special permit application by Stephen A. Borodaka / Alpha Signs for a freestanding sign in the Village Center District under Section 250-4.17H3J of the Code of the Town of Lunenburg as amended at the November 2023 special town meeting. The subject property is located at 3 Lancaster Avenue, parcel number 71-0001. It is owned by One Family Insurance Agency, 3 Lancaster Road in Lancaster, Mass. 01434. Materials are available for viewing at the planning office at 960 Massachusetts Avenue.
All right, and do we have the applicant or a representative of the applicant here tonight? Do we have them available on Zoom?
Does not appear so.
Well, what is procedure when, do we just discuss it anyway? Do we wait?
My
for the-
recommendation would be that you move to continue the hearing to the next meeting, July 8th at 6:05 PM. And then Logan can notify, or I can notify the applicant that, hey, nobody's present, you need to be present. I will also ask if there's anybody on Zoom who wants any comments on it.
There's an,
I'll also,
just joined.
I'd like to also comment that this was, well, the application for special permit is dated March 5th, so were they notified, said it was?
I believe this process may have been one of the ones that began before I took
It
this
did,
role.
and I would expect they were notified of it
Good.
when they applied. But we'll make sure of that, tonight.
All right. With no applicant present, I would look for a motion to, again, if you want specific, to our specific wording to our July 8th meeting?
July 8th, yeah.
To our July 8th meeting at continue to July 8th meeting at 6:05 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, that was quick. Next up is, getting back to our agenda. Certificate of completion for 321 Sunny Hill Road.
Just by way of background, the board will recall that they're here for the last meeting, and we had a report from Graves Engineering indicating some items that need to be corrected. The developers notified of that, and they're here tonight to discuss those.
All right. Please, take it away.
Excuse me, Dan Proctor, 1529 Mass Ave, Lunenburg. Obviously, I'm the excavating contractor that did the work on Sunny Hill Road. So, couple of the comments that Dan Sheehan from Graves Engineering made about the riprap was, thin on a couple of spots in the overflow weir. We took care of that. We changed the slope where he was concerned that too much of the water was going to the rain garden at 321 and not 317, so we changed that. We also rerouted the upper side of the swale near the house to bring it up gradient so that it came all the way parallel with the rain garden to then dump into the rain garden. I believe he was satisfied with all that. He did have some comments that he thought the wood chips were too thick and that it would cause instability long-term. So I called Mr. Sheehan just because I'm an excavating contractor. I'm not a horticulturalist. I had some questions about these rain gardens and what they're really supposed to do and kind of some explanations on it. He admitted that he's not a horticulturalist either. So he's learning just as much as we all are. I guess I don't really agree with the fact that the wood chips were too thick. Not that I listened to him. We actually went and we removed wood chips. When he was talking about the stability, walking around the rain gardens, and he was saying it was, kind of unstable, that type of thing. I didn't totally understand that. I don't know what he weighs, but I'm probably way more than him, and I walked around that rain garden about 6 times, and I don't really see anything moving. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Allison, you might know this better than anybody. I know you're a civil engineer, but these rain gardens are nothing more than bathtubs. And when it rains, they fill up, correct? Theoretically. And we put in loam, we put in sand, we put in crushed stone, we put in all these products to promote the growth of plants in those rain gardens. Well, after a rain event, it's going to be unstable in the sense that it's almost like a quicksand type of thing because we just have water and sand and soils all mixed together. So I asked him about that, Mr. Sheehan, and he said, well, that's a good point. Because, you can take a 5-gallon bucket and you can fill it with the best sand in the world, and then you dump 2 gallons of water in it. It's going to move because it doesn't have any place to perk out immediately. Over time, it will. So when I built these rain gardens in March, we had a lot of rain events. And I go by that site twice a day, on my way to work, on my way home to work. And the water filled up. It never crested the overflow weir. So I believe it did what it's supposed to do, which is keep the water on that site, not going downhill, not ending up anywhere. I don't know if anybody on the site anybody on the board has visited this site. Has anybody?
No.
Okay. The grass is about this high. All right. You can hardly walk through it. So I mentioned that to Mr. Sheehan, and he said, yeah, I have to admit, the second time I went there, I was pretty impressed with the growth of the grass on that dam, dike, overflow weir, the whole bit. So I think we've solved all those issues. He did mention one spot where it was eroding, excuse me, which we took care of today. He mentioned that we had put straw down. Well, we had seeded it and then put straw down, which is what we have done on that whole site from day one. Every time we finished, we seed and we hay mulch. I did speak to, we have 2 big nursery landscaping companies in town. I spoke to them about the plants that we're putting in these rain gardens, and it was suggested to me, and I mentioned to Mr. Sheehan, that we really shouldn't be putting these plants in the bottom of the garden. We should actually keep them up around the edges a little bit, because most of those plants will die if they're in water all the time. So he agreed with that, so we put them more around the edge rather than in the bottom. And when I was just there today, when we were taking the wood chips out, every plant that we put in is still alive. And I planted those 6 weeks ago. And nobody's watering them. I mean, it's just getting water from natural rainwater and what have you. So I feel like we've satisfied all that. I mentioned to him that I bought 25 yards of compost from a local supplier. I bought 40 yards of septic sand from a local supplier. And I trucked in 50 yards of loam that I have, obviously. So you put all that formula together and you put it in the bottom, mix it up like you're supposed to, and that's the formula that the engineer showed on the plan. 30% compost, 40% sand, 30% loam. So again, the fact that the wood chips are too thick, fine. It's the first time I've ever really been busted for putting in too much of a product. So anyhow, we removed some of them.
But we're just finding that out now, so we haven't had, Graves hasn't had a chance to go back out there and look at it.
Okay, is it possible for you to have a conversation with Graves to just get his opinion? Because I talked to him and I said, you know, I'm not trying to be argumentative here, but his comments kind of construed that this site was not really done very well. And he said that was not my intention. So I understand we can get Graves back out there, but we can also spend another $1,000 or $1,500 to get Graves back out there to say it looks good.
If I had received a response from email 2 weeks ago with this information, I would forward that to Graves and ask them for the response. I'm just hearing this verbally tonight, and if I'd had written response as I would have expected, then we would have had a response from them. But given that we're hearing this now, only thing I can ask is, one, send me an email with what you said tonight, and we'll forward that to Graves. Ask them, then go out there and take another look at the rain garden and see if they are satisfied with them.
For $1,500. I guess that's the point I'm making. You know, I mean, back in the day, there used to be a little bit of integrity, okay? I've lived in this town my whole life, all right? I can show you everything that I just talked about. If you want me to send it in an email, I'm gonna ask Logan to give me what I just said on tape, because I'll sit in front of my typewriter and it'll take me about 6 years to type up what I just told you. So ultimately, I just, you know, that's why I just asked if anybody on the board had visited the site. Because you can see the grass is growing there. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, we could bale it and probably get 20 hay bales out of it.
So, speaking just as one member of the board, I hear that, but the reason we use and need review engineers like Graves is the reality is not all of us up here are engineers. And we need to rely on the engineers that are part of the process to represent the town, to get their opinion, to be our information source, because they will see things we don't and understand things we don't. I would have assumed that, just like by default, the ones I think about, I kind of get it, but I probably would have assumed myself that more wood chips would be fine. But this is where I have to rely on the engineers who, with their relevant background. So I absolutely understand the difficulty, and I get the frustration with having to have them come out repeatedly. And that's why if we have it in writing, it can go to Graves. And the answer from Graves could be, I don't know the answer will be, I don't need to look at it, but if there was something in there, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ellison, as well, you've had this experience, but if Graves saw something that was incorrect in that he knew was incorrect, and basically that would have to be corrected before a visit out could be beneficial, he would let us know, is that correct?
Well, yeah, and then to support Richard, I'm looking here at the email chain. It was a week after he had sent an initial query about the site being prepped, that he'd sent another query about the site being prepped, or ready, and there was no response. So just in Richard's defense, had there been a response, that would have been forwarded directly to Graves, and they could have possibly said, discussed the conversations they'd had with you or anybody, and said that it sounds like it's okay. I don't know if that would suffice their company's regulations for sign-offs, but.
Just from my perspective, been in business for 40 years, and I'm not going to be employed by the town 3 months from now. All these members of the board may not be on the board 3 years from now. The current owner may not own the lot. He hopes not to own the lot 3 years from now. Somebody else owns the property, they have issue with it. If we have something in documentation, and something in writing that says, yeah, this what was done and this how it was corrected, we can go, and they complain about it, we can say, this is what we provided, and this is what the engineer's response was. So there's a clear paper trail which helps not only the town, but also Mr. Battle. Because somebody that he sells it to has problems 3 years from now, they're going to raise, I know from my experience, they're going to raise a lot of issues and make it difficult for everybody. It's best to have it clearly documented as to what was done and what the final resolution was.
So the sheetrock in my kitchen cracked above the kitchen window that was put in by a builder 5 years ago, and the building inspector signed off on it. Do I go back at the town on that?
Well,
Well, I mean, I guess that's what I'm asking. How long do we have to worry about this rain garden?
we have a report from Graves that the rain garden wasn't done properly.
Okay,
You're saying it was done properly. We need something in writing from you saying, this is what we did to correct it from
Okay.
Graves' response, and then Graves can sign off on that.
okay, so I'll write a letter to Graves, email
Write
it,
it to the town, and we will send it to Graves.
okay, and then see what he says.
Right, Graves works basically for the town, and so write it, send it to me, I'll send it to some people at Graves and have them respond.
Okay. Right. Just for the record, I started working for my dad 49 years ago.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim Battles, former owner at 321, but owner of 317 Sunny Hill. Would it be possible if we get a positive response back from GEI that we could then just proceed and get a permanent CO for 321, right, once you get the response, rather than waiting for another hearing? That's,
The CO comes from building inspector, doesn't it?
Yeah.
but he won't issue the permanent CO until this planning board signs off or...
And that's
gets their approval.
because the stormwater bylaw requires a certificate of completion at the end of it.
Okay.
It requires basically that the board determine that it's been done according to the approved plans and satisfied. And the board historically relies upon Graves to make that determination.
Right. So I'm just saying, if Graves went out this week and said all's well, or do we still wait till the next meeting on the 8th, or can it be moved forward for a permanent CO sooner? Reason I ask is I think my temporary CO expires right around the time the board meets next. So I just have to get an extension or have it taken care of.
So it's up to the board as to how they want to handle it. The board could vote to conditionally grant a certificate of completion upon a receipt of a letter from Graves first, a receipt of a letter from you or your contractor
Right.
detailing what was done, and
And
a
then-
subsequent letter from Graves indicating, demonstrating that everything's been satisfied to their satisfaction. The board could do that if they wanted to. I will tell you now that I won't be able to respond till Monday or Tuesday, because I won't be available after tomorrow.
So I turn to the board. I have my thoughts I'm happy to share, or I'm happy to have others share first. But I look to the board to see what would we like to do. Personally, at this point, where there's other avenues available, I get they may be more inconvenient to get the temporary CO renewed, or whatever the correct terminology is there. But where there's other avenues available, I would personally rather we follow set procedure, just in case something comes up with, like, yes, in theory, if something came up with Graves, that would follow the same practice regardless, but where there's another avenue, I would personally rather just follow set procedure, but I look to the rest of the board. You may feel differently.
I mean, we have the procedures for a reason, to make sure that everything we have runs smoothly. Yeah.
I'll withdraw that request.
Okay.
I mean, I'll talk to building inspector and just see if I, make sure I can extend it. The other is, as Mr. Harris pointed out, I'm trying to sell the other lot. So I'm looking, I guess I would be looking to you guys, because you want probably some type of specific language in the PNS or the deed or something, if it's purchased by another builder or whatnot to complete. I mean, the final completion is, I think in the report from Graves was, we're not going to know on 317 until construction has been completed.
I believe we have a set process for that. I don't know what it is.
You have a stormwater permit, and the language should be that they comply with the already approved stormwater application and the permit conditions.
All right, at that point, could I then change, they could put forth a deposit for that part of 317?
Well, the issue is that the 12,500 performance guarantee covers both parcels.
Right.
So the 12.5 would not go away until both parcels are satisfied.
All right, so that's going to be just a total separate issue then.
And if I may, are you concerned about the future maintenance of the rain garden for the current owner? Is that what I heard?
No, I'm actually, I was looking for, because I'm trying to sell 317, if there was any type of language requirement.
In the deed, okay, yes.
Yes.
I believe there is. Don't these stormwater permits require a rider on the deed for the new lots? Isn't that?
I thought we have something about
Oh, we did, and I think that's going to be in the final conditions, right? And, well, that was in the final conditions.
Right, so if they make it subject, if they put in the P&S, this is subject to the conditions of the stormwater permit issued by the town of Lunenburg, dated such and such date, recorded at such and such location in the registry.
I think that's not only in the PNS, but I think that also goes on the deed as well.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that language,
That's what I wanted to make sure.
I think.
I mean, the stormwater permit's been recorded in the registry.
You're right.
Therefore, anybody buying the property knows it's been issued. The P&S and the subsequent deed should have a reference to that.
Right.
Okay. Good enough.
Great.
I think that's it for me then.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know Ms. Lockwood is back and available and has another meeting at 7:30 if now's a okay time for appointments.
Okay, I'm looking real quick, but I think that's fine based on our agenda. It would help if I looked at the right week's agenda, so picky. Okay, great. So before we go on to performance guarantees, let's hop back to appointments. Open Space Committee, Anna Lockwood.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Oh, perfect.
Better that we can hear Dave.
Yep. So, Ms. Lockwood, you're here before us because you filled out the Talent Bank form for open space, a topic you're familiar with.
Yes, I am. So I've been serving on the open space for 2.5 years now under the Parks Commission. And most recently, I left the Parks Commission, and I can still serve under the Parks Commission because that's an appointment. And, you know, I can ask them if I can keep it. But I actually saw this as an opportunity to fill the vacant at-large position that the open space has had for just about 2 years now. So I put my talent bank form forward, and then we'll have someone new appointed from the Parks Commission, and the Open Space Committee will be fully staffed.
A fully staffed open space ad hoc committee. That's a rarity. I'll take it. Well, I'm one voice. I should instead turn to the board and say, friends, do we have any questions for Ms. Lockwood or any thoughts to share?
Well, I'm just realizing, did Brandon step down? I thought
No, this is the position that was open when Sarah Cameron left and has not been filled
okay,
since.
so there's two. I'm sorry.
I think there are three. I think it's Brendan, Mike, who's the chair, and it was Sarah.
Okay. Thank you. No questions? Nope. I've sat with her in those meetings. She's been productive. She's obviously a busy, involved person. If she just had a meeting, she's here and she's got another meeting. So bandwidth is the only thing that I'd question, but I certainly know her, and I don't think I need to question the bandwidth.
Words out of my mouth.
Well, my other meetings are work meetings, so.
All right. So, Ms. Lockwood, thank you for your time. I would look for if the board has a motion to make.
I've moved to appoint Anna Lockwood to the Open Space Ad Hoc Committee as the citizen at large.
Second.
Moves and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Anna, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, and I look forward to continue serving the town and the residents. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you. And for those watching at home, this is how it works. You step forward, there's jobs to do in this town. If you have skills or if you have no skills, still fill out that talent bank form. If there's a committee you want to serve on, fill it out. If you're saying, but that committee's already full, fill it out anyway. Doesn't mean that everyone who's on that committee, there's always those who are still serving because no one else is. And there's always the possibility that someone's going to come off the committee at some point. So please, by all means, Lunenburg, excuse me. Lunenburg, like all towns, has the same 10 people problem. It's not a literal 10, but many hands make light work and fewer hands make for a lot of work. So if you're out there and you want to help, ooh, could we use the help? Okay, that is the appointments, and now we're going on to the performance guarantees for 430 Mulpus Road.
I believe that's just to sign it.
Oh, that's just signing?
You have the,
Yes, I do.
you had for the last meeting.
And we can sign after the meeting's over, correct?
Yes.
Great. Then we'll sign when we're done, just, again, to keep things moving for those who are here, and for the public watching at home, you don't need to watch us sign papers. If you have a serious objection to that, let us know. I guess you could watch, but it ain't exciting. All right. Board discussions. Oh. We failed to put committee reports back onto this agenda. Huh. Well, that can come later regardless because we're not really voting.
It could come on board comment.
Yeah. All right. So, board discussions. There's a couple things to go in there. I wanted to put forward to us the very notion that we kind of mentioned earlier that Mr. Wilsner brought up from the Master Plan Steering Committee, that there is interest there in moving forward in some capacity to an implementation committee. I don't know if that's the words they use, but that's the common words. That's the common name for the group that then takes the master plan and tries to coordinate it being implemented in town. We don't have a plan for that yet. We don't have to make that plan tonight, but we are going to have to, if we want to do it, we will need to design that committee and then get it moving once master planning wraps late in the fall. So I wanted to put that out there. Are we interested in having an implementation committee for the town? Do we want to talk about what that might look like, knowing we have more time to kind of tool it out and see, but get initial thoughts?
I'm on board with the idea. I think will help get more of what we want done. Yeah, I think most of it is just having, once we know that this is a possibility, basically just taking it back to the steering committee and having it hashed out, like how exactly do we want to represent this, probably bringing it back here and then.
So this would normally be the purview of the planning board to draft,
yes,
rather than the steering committee to draft.
Sure.
I do think, I would personally, value some of their input from my own standpoint. If there's people who really want to be involved in implementation of the master plan, I think there's probably value in trying to make sure they're at the table, because interested is a good thing, and as we've discussed previously, at times a rare commodity. But do we have an idea? I haven't done my background research recently, so I don't have off the top of my head what other implementation committees look like. But is this something we'd like to look at going forward? Do we have thoughts of what that might look like?
This is the first time I've heard of an implementation committee, but I think it sounds like a decent idea. I'm not quite sure exactly what it would look like or how to put it together, but I think that it certainly would help Lunenburg, because that's exactly what we do. We spend lots of time, lots of money on these great things, and then we shelf them, and then 10 years goes by, and then we spend lots of money and lots of time on great things, and then we shelf them too. So, yeah. I'm going to give a plug to the open space plan. It's nearly 200 pages, I think, right now. It was updated in 2022, I think, 2021. Fabulous document, and I hope that that has been at least looked at by the Master Planning Steering Committee. Just another example of something on the shelf recently.
That was an unofficial discussion that happened at the previous meeting, was a desire for better communication of getting what it is that the particular boards want from this. We spent all of our time kind of just reaching out to the public directly without a consideration that we have all of these boards that have people that are enmeshed in the town and what the town wants and needs, and that is a good place for us to additionally get a lot of this information that we haven't as much as we should have, even just coming up to this point. So that's something that is just now going on to got onto the radar.
If I can offer my 1 cent worth, I would hope that the master plan would have implementation chapter that would give some guidance as to what the implementation oversight should be.
one did too.
Because that would then inform the planning board. I would think that what I've done before is create a general bylaw amendment. I noticed in chapter 12 of your general bylaws, there's boards and commissions, and it'd be a amendment to that chapter probably that would create a master plan implementation committee, or whatever you want to call it, and give its charge, give its membership structure, and generally you're looking at something that, a body that's going to report back to the planning board and to town meeting and select board on an annual or biannual basis as to what progress is being made. Now, these are the recommendations in the master plan, and this is who is supposed to be doing this. It needs to be changed or is not working out. So I think that's generally you'd be looking to do, I would imagine. But I've created one before, created one in Texas as well, and I know a number of communities around the state have created master plan implementation committees for the purpose of overseeing the implementation of it and more of a monitoring of the progress on it.
All right. Thank you, Richard. That's helpful. I meet twice a month with our consultants, specifically from Over Under, but the others when needed, to kind of where we talk about progress and things happening. And I can certainly talk to Rami about what info is available ahead of time to us about implementation, because if that section is largely written or in draft form, like getting info from them of their recommendation earlier, I think would be better for us to have. And then that would help us look ahead and think, and then if we need to put something in the bylaws, if it's a committee we can make without using the bylaws, I'm not sure. I don't know the committee rules.
I'd recommend that you create, otherwise it becomes just ad hoc, and you know something that's going to be standing, have long-term permanence.
Good point. Because that's something that we will probably, if we decide to go that way, we'll need to get wording in for and everything. Other thoughts on implementation or committee or anything else at this time?
I also would suggest, that's 13 or 15 members?
It is a 15-member committee. I have my own opinion about.
14 seats filled.
Yes.
Okay, so I would recommend that it not stay that size.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Strong agree.
Okay.
I do believe we were correct to make it the size we did for our goals. I do not think a committee of that size will function long-term going forward. I already know right now, we knew quorum would be a struggle, and it is a struggle. That's my understanding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to organize the last one, did not make it.
Okay. So we can expect to see this topic coming up periodically or often on our agenda, because that's something we need to look forward to. And I think it would benefit us to be ready to move into implementation as quickly after the report is filed as reasonable, because that way it's still in the public consciousness. And if we're working on it from day one, that feels different than, hey, you know that thing we finished last year? Now we're finally doing something with it. Now, we'll be working with it immediately, right? Because we can all look at this and use that to shape our vision for the town as well. But I think it will feel better if we can point to, and now the next step is blah, and it's ready to go.
If it would be helpful, I can put a query out on Mass Plan's listserv for people to indicate communities that have implementation committee, and then they'll give you a starting ground,
That would be lovely. Thank you. Go ahead.
I wasn't sure if we were done there, if additional board discussions. Previously, when we were working on bylaws for putting up to the town, we shelved the scenic by roads that we were working on in favor of what it is that we put forward. And I'm just wondering about bringing that back. Matt, are you still interested in you and I working together and getting that completed? and
Sure,
out there?
yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I still got the data. I don't know if I created the did I create the share folder or not?
We didn't make it that far. No, we don't have a shared folder.
Okay, well, I've got stuff ready to go into it anyway, so.
Okay, yeah. I'd like to get back on that.
I would, if you bring something to us that is fairly complete and rounded to look at, I think that would be great for us.
Okay.
We're going to talk about a couple other things we probably have coming up as well, as we kind of feel out what everything's going to look like, heading either into special town meeting in the fall or the next town meeting. I wish Karen Chapman could have been available tonight. Completely fair that she's not feeling well. I don't mean it in that context, just because knowing what's ahead of us for MBTA communities is going to also have a big impact on what we can or can't handle, because we may need a relatively small set of changes that are easy to put together and easy to put forward to the town. We may need something comprehensive, and we'll know more once Karen kind of tells us what our options are there. The other board discussion is outdoor dining policy. We have a folder about that. I have it on here. I am not quite as well versed as I would wish to be. I know there was a change in, was it a change in liquor law that is necessitating this?
And the ABCC
Okay.
regulations that allows permanent basis as opposed to just during COVID. Outdoor dining was allowed as a emergency measure under the COVID rules and regulations, and I believe, I understand correctly, that the ABCC has moved into the more permanent.
Now, is that something that planning board would review, or
Well,
would that be?
in terms of
select-
policy, and they've asked for planning board to give
Input, for
comments.
the select board are gonna do it
Yeah.
though, right? Okay.
Now, the select board wanted our feedback prior to their meeting on June 11th, which was not feasible also because we got it on the 10th. Do we know if, I should have followed up on this, do we know if they came to any decisions yet?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, this is a little bit out of left field surprise, like, by the way, this now. Okay. So we can take a moment to review the docs there.
I think that was the part I didn't understand before. So this is basically just talking about officially putting into regular practice the measures that were introduced during COVID. Like, they're not doing something new or radically changing something. It's just saying what we've been doing is officially what we're going to do.
That's how I understand it.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that makes
And,
way more
and the
sense.
select board is going to come up with policies, and they were asking for different departments to give their comments on it.
Right.
From my perspective, the planning board involvement would be if it involved a site plan review or special permit project that wants to do outdoor dining, or you may have conditions that you attach to it. So I think there'd be a need to have the planning board review any applications for it to be sure there's not something in the site plan review or special permit decision board previously rendered that would preclude the outdoor dining.
Not only that, I think that, if we had an application for a new restaurant or reuse or whatever the case be, that proposed to have outdoor dining, that we weren't really required to review before, that wasn't really much of an option. I think that there are going to be some different impacts to a specific site to do with outdoor dining versus in a brick and mortar, and mostly due to pedestrian safety, partly for parking, maneuvering, stuff of that sort. So we might want to have some sort of
I could envision a situation where a planning board approved a project that had indoor dining, no issue about noise, and then they want to put a patio out there. Well, that could generate additional issues regarding noise that would prompt a need for some type of screening or buffer. Additionally, if the patio is going to take up parking area, well, how are they going to compensate for that? So I see those are the main issues I see as considerations. Another would be the outdoor dining is going to have lighting that may not have been out there when it's just indoor, because they may have parking lot lighting, but the patio dining area is going to have more lighting than you have for parking spaces, just because of the nature of it, especially as it's nighttime. So I can see those type issues being a consideration.
Certainly. Certainly, and just a good addition to what we need for, not necessarily a bylaw, but standards, I guess. Right?
I am looking through I'm just making sure I review the documents from the select board as well, because application process. So right now, the application submitted will be submitted via OpenGov. Workflow will submit the application for approval for Building Department, Fire Department, Police Department, DPW, and Board of Health. Public hearing will be scheduled, applicant will be contacted. So do we want to ask to be included on that list of groups that receive the application for review?
So we're going to review, so outdoor dining is going to be reviewed by select board?
Because it falls on the liquor license.
Mm-hmm. Wow, okay.
But I think it'd be appropriate for the board to say, no, this could have impacts for decisions that have been made regarding site plan review and special permits that the planning board has issued, and therefore, planning board needs to be involved in this process as well. Because it may require applicant to go back to the planning board for amendment to the site plan or their special permit.
I mean, so that's actually kind of part of the trickiness here. I can envision a restaurateur saying, oh, I want to add outdoor dining. Great, the process for that is to apply to the select board. So they may not even know they need a site plan review if they want to be notably changing the site.
And
Would adding, for example, adding a patio would be there's something that would require site plan review, correct?
may.
Would think so, but
Yeah.
maybe not.
And that's the reason I think their policy should have a clear statement that applicants for outdoor dining may need also go through the planning board for approval of an alteration of their site plan approval or their special permit.
So perhaps this could be part of their alcohol license, and they would get approval for outdoor dining from the select board at the same time they got approval for their license, and then they would just come here for the site plan review. That would make the most sense in my mind right now, but not having read any of the other documents.
I would tend to think they should come here before they go to select board.
So when they apply, they're including all sorts of information about how many people, whether heaters will be used and other such things to the select board. So it's not a general, yes, you can do this. It's in this specific way, you can do this. So I don't think they're going to be doing it with their liquor license initially, or they may, but I don't think that's a requirement as businesses expand and then want to add X, Y, Z.
So now select board's gonna do site plan review for outdoor dining.
Well,
That makes absolutely no sense, but
so this is where I think, and again, this is from the state, and as we know, the state is
makes absolutely no
a thing. But I like the idea of us being among the departments and boards that need to give feedback. I like the idea about including language, so everyone gives feedback before the select board has their public hearing. So we'd see it, make sure it doesn't violate anything that has come before us previously for that site. See if this is a change that would require site plan review, like a full site plan process and everything. And then it would go to the select board for their public hearing. I do think including language that, depending upon alterations to site, may require site plan review from the planning board. I think it's even safe to say site plan review or special permit. I don't think special permit would be required, but I kind of would rather the or there.
Yeah, I think that's something for the planning board to be able to decide. And I look at this same way in past job, where the select board would issue a new car sales license or used car sales license. And the zoning bylaw requires special permit from the planning board. And the select board wouldn't issue the license until they went to the planning board and got their approval, because we wouldn't sign off on it. So I would see this as being similar, because the select board may not look at it from the perspective of site plan approval. What type of buffers are necessary? What type of mitigation measures are necessary? They may look at more from a alcoholic beverage license perspective, which is a more narrow view line. So I do think it'd be important to convey to the select board that, yeah, these are considerations that need to be built into your outdoor dining policy, so people know ahead of time that it may not just be the select board they have to go to, they have to go to planning board as well.
I was able to open the Word document.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So it sounds like, and Logan, are you able to put together our discussion right now into words we can send, that we can approve and then send to the select board?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. Just that means you can do the typing, not me, and that's, you are so better at that than I am. I don't have to know how you type to know that you're better at it than me.
Send me a draft of it and I'll look at it.
Okay. So it sounds like our feedback to the select board is One, that, we would like the planning board to, submit applications for approval from building department, fire department, police department, et cetera. We would like to be included there to verify that outdoor dining would not run afoul of the currently approved site use and site plan. And we would also like language included to the effect of, and that we can give them specific language they can copy and paste in. And, or edit as needed for whatever their needs are. Do we want to say something that changes to the site may require a site plan review or special permit? Because, I mean, just building something could trigger that, right? And so, changes to the site may require the site plan review or special permit process before the planning board. And the applicant should check with the land use office to see if that's the case. Does that make sense? I bet there's more eloquent wording.
Can I make a suggestion?
I would love that.
Instead of we would like, the planning board feels it's essential that the planning board be included in the list of departments for which applications are to be transmitted. The planning board also is concerned that applicants need to be notified as part of the outdoor dining policy that they may have to go to planning board for modification of site plan approval or special permit prior to obtaining the outdoor dining permit from the select board.
Is it crap like this that we're losing all our businesses in town? Is it stuff like this the reason?
So, that didn't end up on here, so I will let us know. The EDC does want to have a joint meeting with us coming up. They were originally requested tonight. I pushed them to July 8th because originally tonight was a very full agenda and things have since fallen off. But we originally had 2 more significant presentations scheduled for tonight. So, yeah.
Because I guess my basic question is, change of use, it promotes, it makes us have a site plan review. Approval now, not just a review, approval.
Right.
So would indoor dining, adding outdoor dining, would that be in itself a change of use?
I think it would, but that's,
Okay, well then.
that's a building commission that makes that call.
Then maybe we don't want to say may require.
Yeah.
Maybe we want to say does require, and again, it's just another hoop. But, you know,
That's a good point. I mean, I think it's better to be as definitive and affirmative as possible, so that instead of saying we like it, it's essential, and instead of saying it may require it, a change of use does require review approved by the planning board.
Do we define change of use as only a change on the use table, though? Because every time we've talked about change of use, it's been, oh, this is a retail that wants to become a restaurant. That triggers change of use. And then there's things, right? Like change of use also means pre-existing non-conforming no longer gets the same grace and everything.
Well, alteration of a approved site plan and special permit requires amendment or modification of the site plan special permit.
Okay.
so now the zoning officer is the ultimate decider on the change of use, or is that zoning?
Yes.
board? Yes? So he's also temporary land use director now, so at least it would have kind of one stop,
Right.
right? As far as internal?
Right.
So at least the applicant wouldn't be run around to different places just to make applications.
I would love to not require that.
Well, they're already gonna have to run around to different boards and get approvals.
Well, no, so they don't have to run around because this actually specifies application will be submitted via OpenGov. The town is in the process of moving to get applications into OpenGov, which makes it all electronic then. And then it's not, well, you need to bring this paper here, and then it has to go here. It's all electronic, it goes in, and then the OpenGov, like we talked about, the workflow, it sends it to the people who need it. So that is hopefully a step we're doing that should alleviate some of that go here burden. Can't guarantee it'll do it 100%, but that should cut down. I know there's people for whom that's been a passion, pushing OpenGov as a solution for that. And you've been part of those conversations, Richard.
Yes.
So if I am misspeaking.
No.
Okay.
I've been pushing to have planning board applications put on OpenGov. I think it's a much better approach to coordinating project reviews, and applicants get everybody's comments back. It's not, they said, he said, it's, you know, always see what everybody said.
It's a lot cleaner than like an email chain too, just from my limited experience looking at it. Like it just makes sense.
So that's a transition that's been happening that multiple people have been pretty.
Makes sense as long as it works better than Munis.
Yep.
Yeah, what doesn't work better than Munis?
So it sounds like we.
Any change of use within an existing building or site triggers site plan review, site plan approval.
And change of use is determined by the zoning officer, and the zoning officer is the land use director?
No,
Is the building
manager,
commissioner.
temporary.
Is the building commissioner.
Yeah, by state law, the building commissioner is the zone enforcement officer,
Well, he's also been appointed recently by the select board as the
land use manager.
land use manager.
Yes, but regardless, either way, I think I'm personally comfortable relying on the building commissioner to know what would and wouldn't potentially be of a concern for us. I mean, Brian's rock solid, but I know you can't just plan based on one human. What do we think? So, Amanda, I'm going to ask, you gave me a nod, and I think I have said some things that even contradict with each other over time, so I'd love to know what you feel happy with. I don't mean to call you out, but like, I'm not clear what the nod meant.
You asked if we were happy with it, so I was saying yes.
Okay, yeah, fair.
Yeah, I think it makes sense,
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
what you said. And I mean, I think Richard is going to draw up something,
Yeah.
a literal translation of the conversation. So is it possible for us to review it before you submit it?
Logan will draft it up, I'll look at it, and we'll send it to everybody's for the information, but it's going to be sent to the planning board chair for approval.
Wonderful.
So what you could do is send me your individual comments without responding to all. And your comments basically is, did I get it right?
And then, once he gets comments back, or a little bit of time has passed, I'd like to get this before the select board at their next meeting, hoping this discussion isn't moot. Then I will give assuming no one said, OMG, this is awful, that this does not match what we talked about, I will give approval to go to select board.
What we can do is send Annie an email tomorrow indicating the board is going to offer comments, and we expect to have those to her hopefully next week.
Does select board meet next week?
I don't know.
I think they're off for like a long stretch.
Oh, they are, I think, you're right. Yeah, no, they mentioned, okay. So next week's fine then, okay. So everyone watch your emails, check it out, get it back. This is a case where for me, if once you see it and if you're happy with it, please write back to Richard that you're happy rather than sending nothing, because that would just help me feel better. So I can say, oh, did you get feedback from the board? And he can say yes or no. That's all kosher, right? Okay, great.
As long as they only send to me, not to everybody else.
Yep, okay. Great. Check.
Could we send an affirmative only just to the chair as individual and not group text?
That could be
message?
constituted as a vote.
That's, okay. I was wondering, yeah.
Some would do that. I tend to err on the side of no.
Yep. Err on the side of caution, that's always been,
Okay, so I think that kills those two board discussion points. Great. And I took the liberty of changing director to report to director or chair report because I'm kind of doing more of that backstage work right now because we don't have a full-time land use director. But couple points. Water Supply Protection District. I want to let us know to expect to see that on shortly on upcoming meetings, and I can give a little bit more background there. I mean, we've done a lot of work on that. There's been a lot of community feedback. Wish you could have gotten ironed out earlier, but tech and health issues were what they were. Que sera. However, I believe we have, it is my understanding that we are at a place with some changes that Richard has made to the draft, and that's in this meeting, the draft document, so reviewable by all. I'd like it if we could review it before our next meeting to start seriously we're going to start seriously talking about it again at the next meeting. That will be on the agenda. So it would be good to review it. But we are at a place where various entities in town have been talking and different interest groups have been talking and I think there is something here that some close variant of will meet with approval of the various groups who have said, what about this? What about that? For the most part.
If I can
Please.
interject. What is on the shirt file now for this meeting is a revised draft of the document that was looked at the April 22nd public hearing. It's gone back to Bill Hannigan and Joan Pease, who were the two that commented the most about the Water Supply Protection District Amendment. I've got emails from both of them that basically what Joan Pease said, she's fine with what Bill Hannigan wants in there, and what I put in there satisfied Bill Hannigan. So they're both, and she has indicated that they're fine with the changes as written here. And I have suggested that it'd be appropriate for the board to have at least a discussion on it at the July 8th meeting if possible, and the August 26th meeting, where I think everybody can be there. And then you should schedule a public hearing sometime in September. If after those two meetings, the board's comfortable with it. But I think there needs to be some devoted time to at both those meetings where everybody's present to comment on it.
And just for full transparency and information, there was a meeting scheduled recently with Bill Hannigan,
Jack Brennan.
Jack Brennan, who is the, is he the owner or manager? I don't know the
I'm
full.
sure what his title is, but
He's the high muckety muck we interact with, or that Adam would interact with for the Lunenburg Central project. And now he has a vested interest. He would like to see it go through because that would make that property developable in a way that suits his needs. Another property he's looking at for, I believe, another warehouse.
expansion of, yes.
Now, we don't, generally as a board, we don't change just because someone wants it, but this is something we've been looking at in different community groups, and different interests have said they want feedback and given feedback, and that's part of the process. And I can tell you the results of that meeting were largely them looking at it and saying, yeah, we've talked to Ms. Pease, and I think we're all happy with each other and with some of this.
And as a result of that meeting, I made some changes, sent back to Mr. Hannigan and to Ms. Peace. Apparently they talked, and then Mr. Hannigan got back some edits he wanted, and Ms. Peace indicated she's fine with the edits that Mr. Hannigan wanted. And I've also noted that the Water District has indicated that they want to be involved in any future discussions about changing the Water Supply Protection District.
And so we can let them know the meeting dates that are upcoming.
They're here with us now, so.
I have no problem, there's no reason it's on the agenda as a report, but there's no reason we can't hear more and talk, is there?
No.
Yeah. And again, I'll warn you, I don't know that the whole board has reviewed the most recent things, but please.
Mark Bursch, I'm a water commissioner. The few things I didn't hear tonight is, we haven't seen any of the proposed changes. We would like to get a copy of those for review. The other thing is this needs to go back to DEP for their approval. That's why the original document that was DEP's boilerplate was easy for us to approve. So when you're going through this process, there was a couple things that I noted. I don't know what the changes are, so I can't speak to them. I know Ms. Pease was concerned about the wording in Zone 1. The district is not really worried about the wording in Zone 1 that currently exists, so that could still exist. But there was talk about treatment in Zone 1 and treatment by special permit in Zone 2, which I feel the district is probably going to have issue with, considering that it's allowed by DEP, and the fact that we already treat in Zone 1. So you're going to be taking away a process that we already do by putting that in the bylaw.
Doesn't take away any existing is allowed to continue.
So you're saying that DEP allows treatment in Zone 1, allows for treatment in Zone 2, but you're going to further restrict that so that we wouldn't be able to do further treatment in Zone 1 or Zone 2.
We'll send you a copy of the draft and you make your own judgment.
Okay.
But I will also note that DEP model is just that, a model, and communities have the right to make it more restrictive than what DEP requires.
I agree that they can make it more restrictive, but the reason that we're here is because it's so restrictive. And if you're going to change whether we can treat in Zone 1 or Zone 2, then that's going to significantly impact the future needs of the district financially, which then boils down to the district takers. So, it's currently allowed by DEP, so I don't see a reason why we can't allow it moving forward.
That'll be up to the board in the town meeting.
Yep.
But I would, again, we are planning on discussing this explicitly, and being over, as most of y'all know, I'm going to be missing a couple meetings upcoming. So we tried to make it for the meetings, it was more likely to have everyone present, which would be July 8th and
August 26th.
the first meeting in July, the second meeting in August, as 2 times to really dive deep and talk. Knowing that, more voices are better. So,
The more voices need an invitation.
yeah, so,
We've never really been invited to come to these meetings or speak on behalf of the district and our opinions on that.
okay, I hear that. We do try to follow, we do our best to reach out when appropriate, and we do also post the agendas. I know that's not always ideal, but we're working with what we have right now for a department as well.
I agree. Everybody's running slim.
But-
But I still think that this is something that we should send to DEP for their review as well. So another process that, again, is going to take a little bit longer, so I figured I'd let you know that. That would be the intention of the district, is that DEP review any changes to the bylaw.
We'll take, I don't know the technical background here, so I'm going to say we'll take that under advisement, and I don't want that to sound like a brush off. I don't know I don't know enough, being just, again, we're citizens up here, I don't know enough technical to say, of course we will do that, or no, we can't for some reason, but that is absolutely heard, and we will take that under advisement as we look at what the process is going forward.
Do you have something, your email address, I can send you a copy of it?
Loon Watt,
What?
the Lunenburg Water District email, I believe it's loonwatt.org. I believe I gave it to,
Yeah, I have it.
sorry.
Okay, send me the email address now.
Yeah.
It's at Verizon, right?
Yeah, I think it's loonwatt@verizon.net. Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'm not looking for us to do a deep dive into what we should do yet, because I want us all to review the draft as it is, take some time to chew it over, and then be ready for the July 8th meeting. Any questions or anything, please throw them out. I just didn't want us to, I put it under report because I didn't think it would be appropriate to do a deep dive until we review the material and know why we're kind of reviewing it. All right, seeing no questions. Development update. So again, because I happened to be in that meeting with Mr. Brennan, I turned to him and said, look, the question I get asked most as planning board chair is, what's up with Lunenburg Central? How come they're not doing anything? And I try to explain to people that this is, I'm saying this to us, many of us have heard this already, but I'm saying it to us because I'm saying it to all of us in town. That they built it knowing it could take a very long, comparatively, than what we think of, a very long time to fill, because this isn't an apartment building where you build apartments and people just come in and rent an apartment. They built a very pretty shell that can't be used yet because there's nothing inside. They didn't build in the toilets or anything, it's a shell. The idea being that then, when leasees come in, and that takes time to get a leasee for a warehouse of that size, they build the suit. 1/3, I believe what was said, don't quote me exactly, but I think it's 1/3 is under lease, or I believe under lease, and they're going to start fleshing out for that leasee, and there's, I think, another leasee coming on the way. So, to answer the questions in town, what's going on? Everything is going on exactly as scheduled. And in the meantime, we're still getting those glorious tax dollars for the improved land. You were there for that conversation? Okay, great.
Basically, it's a private matter. It's like any other speculative building. Doesn't lease immediately. It takes time to negotiate with prospective tenants.
But Mr. Brennan was happy to share that info with me and gave me the okay to answer the town's questions about it. That was my development update, right?
Right.
Okay, great. Okay. Meeting schedule, again, we'll do committee reports during board comment. Meeting schedule, there's, planning board meets at 6 PM in Town Hall, up here in the upstairs meeting room, unless otherwise indicated. Our upcoming meetings include July 8th and July 22nd.
Would this be a good time for me to ask my question? Who will be available in attendance at the July 8th meeting? Will everybody be here?
I would expect.
Okay. July 22nd? Two,
Don't
three,
expect anything, yeah.
4 out of 5, okay. The reason I ask is we have a application for site plan approval and stormwater for 240 Summer Street, and I want to confirm we're going to have at least 4, I'd like to have all 5 members, or at least 4 members, before we advertise the public hearing. And I know Mr. Brennan's not going to be available August 12th, and I don't want to put it off to August 26th. So we're advertising it for July 22nd.
Okay, great. Do we have any public comment? There's no one in the room. Logan, is there anyone in the?
Nope.
Okay,
Nobody is in the Zoom.
so there is no public present able to comment. If you got a burning thing you really got to share at home, log in, get your hand up, we'll call on you if it's before we're done. Board comment concerns, we can just use that as a moment for any updates, any committee updates that are relevant. I'm not going to call through the formal list right now, but again, mine was going to be that the EDC does want to meet with us. I'm going to meet with Kathy Clark first, just to get an idea ahead of time of what the discussion will be, so she and I can kind of help plan, but they'd like to come here and have I believe they want a joint meeting. It might just be a couple of them, I will find out. But the goal is to talk about what they view as obstacles to people opening businesses in town. And that's an ongoing, that's a perennial concern. And there's things we do to try to make it more friendly, and people still also feel that there are challenges, so getting that from the Economic Development Committee, that's their job. That's why we have them.
Well, maybe not only new businesses, but retention of existing businesses, right?
Yeah, I don't know that was their intent, but I think that's a fine topic as well. And like I said, I have to write back to Kathy, and she and I are going to chat a little first, just to have an idea so we know how to manage things. Okay. Great. Any other board comment concerns? Okay. In that case, my friends, I believe we're done. Still no public in there?
Nope.
Great. I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ladies and gentlemen?
Sound the A&R and performance guarantee.
Yeah, we have to sign those before we leave, physically, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for the Lunenburg Planning Board meeting. Exciting as always, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Take care, everybody.
And from now on, you'll
Oh,
just see
Matt.
me online.
Open that drawer, there's a charger in there.
In a shark.
And a laser pointer shark.
Laser pointer shark.
Yeah.